Okay, today we're starting topic 3, fluency of multiplying multiple digit whole numbers. So read over the essential question. The essential question is, what are the standard procedures for estimating and finding products of multi-digit numbers? And there's a lab activity you can do. You can take a look at your family water usage if you're interested, if you have time to work on that. I'm going to get started with the required work. We're doing the review what you know, which is on page 110. Choose the best term for the box and write it in the blank. Our terms are equation, exponent, factor, multiple, power, and product. Number 1, the answer to a multiplication problem is and it's product. Product would go in there. A number sentence that shows two expressions with the same value is a or an equation. Oop, that one down there. A or an tells the number of times the base is used as a blank. So the exponent tells the number of times the base is used as a factor. And number 4, 50 is a blank of 10 because 5 times 10 equals 50. And 50 is the multiple of 10. So the only word they didn't use was power. And remember, 10 to the second power, that's our base. Our power tells us the number of times, the exponent there tells us the number of times you multiply the factor. And it's to the power of 2. It's another way to say that. Okay, find the sum or difference. So we're going to just practice some whole number, subtraction, and addition. You can do this work on pencil paper and check it on a calculator. We have whole number addition and subtraction. And remember, we are always lining up the values. Set up your paper, put the page number at the top of your loose leaf paper, page 110, number 5, and make sure you write your numbers on top of each other, stacked, so we can line them up by place value. And when you add from left to right, right to left, 7 plus 8 is 15, carry the 1. 2 plus 0 plus 1 is 3. 1 plus 0 is 1. 9 plus 3 is 12. And don't forget your comma in there. 12,135. Number 6, 7,904 minus 3,199. We're going to have to do some regrouping here because I can't take 9 away from 4. I can take it away from 14. And remember, if you're working on your VIFs in first in math, subtraction, make sure you're getting that subtraction VIFs done to review the strategies for subtraction and addition. VIFs will help you with that. And we are subtracting here. Again, I can't take 8 from 4, so I'm going to have to borrow from its neighbor. 14 minus 8 is 6. I can't take 6 from 1. I'm going to have to borrow from the neighbor. 11 minus 6 is 5. 8 subtract 8 is 0. 7 minus 3 is 4. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So we have 14,056. Number 8. 9.27. 3.128. And I am adding, and remember, I can annex 0. 8 plus 0, 7 plus 2, 2 plus 1, and 9 plus 3. 12 and 398 thousandths. Number 9, 119 and 4 hundredths, minus 86 and 5 tenths. I'm going to annex a 0 there. 4 take away 0 is 4. I can't take 0 away from 5. So I'm going to have to borrow from the neighbor. Remember, we're all lined up in decimal place value. 8 minus 6 is 2, and 11 minus 11 minus 8 is 3. So we have 32 and 54 hundredths. Number 10, 165 and 2 tenths, 133, 18 hundredths. Annex my 0. I'm going to do some regrouping. 32 and 2 hundredths. And down to our rounding here for number 11, round each number to the place value of the underlined digit. So our numbers are going to stop in the ones. What does 3 do to the 4? Nothing. Remember our rounding rules. 5 or more, you're going to increase the value. 4 or less, you're going to drop everything after, turn it into a 0 or drop it if it's after the decimal point. So we're rounding to the tens place in number 12. So the 5, we're just looking at the 5. We don't even really care about that 7 there. The 5 is going to tell me to bump that 8 up to a 9. But remember, I can't just put 39 there because that's really 385, rounds to 390 when you're rounding to the tens place. For 13, we're rounding to the tenths place, and 4 is going to do nothing to that 5. For number 14, we're rounding to the ones place. 5 is going to make that go up to a 7. It was a 6. It's going up to a 7. Nothing after that. 3 is going to do nothing to that 6. Remember, I'm rounding to the ones place here, so I'm looking at the guy next door. And in this case, the 5 is going to make the 0 go up 1. So there we go. Don't forget your rounding rules. Why do we need to do that? Because we're going to be doing some mental math and to help us double check that our products are correct in this next unit. So the stuff doesn't go away in math. It builds. Your understanding will build. If you don't understand something, notice it's showing up again. So hopefully you'll catch it this time. Write the numbers in order from least to greatest. So we're going from least, which is smallest, to greatest, which is largest. And we have 4 values here. Let's take a look going from left to right. There's an 8 in the ones place, an 8 in the ones place, an 8 in the ones place, and an 8 in the ones place. So that's not going to help me. And the best way to do this, really, just to be sure you're getting it right, in your notebook, I would write everything. Oops, forgot that 2 there. I would write everything on top of each other so I can really compare those place values without relying on my eyeball, which can be a little wiggly. So they all have an 8 in the ones place. So now I have to go to the next place value. I'm going from least to greatest. So what's the smallest value? I have a 0, a 2, a 0, and a 6. Well, these 2 zeros are smaller than the 2 and the 6. So one of these is going to be my smallest number. So now I have to go to the next place value. I'm just looking at those 2 values, the ones with the 0 in the tens place. So the first value has a 6 and this one has a 2. That makes that one the smallest one. So this is going to be, when I'm doing least to greatest, this will be the smallest value. And this will be the next one if I'm rewriting them all. So I got rid of those 2. Now what's smaller? 8.26 or 8.6? And we already determined that they're all the same in the ones, so I'm looking at the tenths. 2 is smaller than 6, so this guy would be next. And this value is our largest. For number 18, write the numbers in order from greatest to least. So this is going in the opposite direction. The larger number first and the smaller number last. And it's really important to make sure you're reading over the directions so you don't make a careless mistake. So I'm going to write them in place value order. and I'm looking for the biggest number. There's zeros. All of them have zeros in the ones place. And we're looking from the biggest value. Going to the tens place, I can see this one is got a 0, so it's smaller than all of them. So I actually know when I'm writing them from greatest to least, I know the smallest number, the smallest value is going to be this guy. He's going to be the last one that I write. I can get rid of him. Now I'm looking for, let's go back, and I want to look for the biggest number. So when I go to my tens place, there's a 1, and a 5. What's biggest? The 5 is biggest. So when we're writing them in order, this is going to be the first one. And what's next biggest? So these guys both have a 1 in the tens place. This one has a 1 in the hundredths. This one has a 5. So this one is the next, make that a 2, the next biggest. And there we go. So if I was rewriting them from greatest to least, I would have my biggest value is 0.5. Next is 0.15. Then 0.115. And last 0.005. That's rewriting them in order from greatest to least. And the other thing we want to go over as we preview the chapter is your vocabulary. So if you turn your page, you've got your purple pages there with the word cards, and you can cut them out and make flashcards for yourself that you can use to study with, or you could just review them in the book if you'd rather just keep them in the book so you have them to go back over in the future. As we turn the page, as we turn the page, there we go. We're reviewing vocabulary cards. So use the examples for each word on the front of the card to help complete the definitions on the back. So an underestimate, 70 times 30 is an underestimate for 72 times 34 because you took the value 72 and get my highlighter going here. And you took the value 30 and you changed 72 and 34 to 70, which is you went below, and 30, which you went below. So this is definitely going to be an overestimate because you undervalued each of the numbers. So that one's easy and pretty clear. Overestimate is when you round up. So instead of 45 and 19, you went to 50 and 20. Both values were greater than the original value. So you're pretty sure you're going to have an overestimate. Mathematically, it would be impossible not to have an overestimate. Those two are pretty clear. What's tricky is when you round one up and one number down, and that's a little harder to see. Partial products, if you recall from 4th grade, this is the multiplication algorithm where we stack our values on top of each other, not by place value. We just chuck them in there, and we use the times multiplication sign. And the first thing we do is we multiply out the ones place value. So if you were actually doing this, you would be multiplying 57 times 4 first. 7 times 4 is 28. The 8 down and carry the 2. We're using the distributive property of math. 7 times 4 is 28. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22. So this value right here, 428, is called a partial product because it's really not the whole answer because we still have to multiply 57 times 10, which is, remember that little 1 that's right there is not a 1, it's a 10. And we do that pretty quickly. Then they get stacked up, added together to get your answer, your final answer. So the partial products are part of the answer, not the final answer. That's why they're called partial products. And variables are just letters. So a variable is a letter, any letter that you want that represents a number, an answer. It's called a variable. So those are the vocabulary words that we're looking over to prepare us for the lesson this week. And we are starting, I'm going to move right ahead into the lesson, the first lesson. Maybe we won't. We'll just stop right there. Previewing topic 3.